Have you ever caught yourself thinking that you don't have the right energy or personality to sell effectively, that you just don't like selling, or that you need to be somebody you aren't in order to make it all work? If so, then today's Soulful Selling story is for you. Welcome to the Soulful Sales Show, where we talk about believing in the value of your offers, getting them in front of your right people, and selling more of what you do in your unique way. Hi, and welcome back to another episode of the Soulful Sales Show. And today it is the final installment of our Soulful Selling series. I have absolutely loved recording these interviews, and I am debriefing the entire process because it's turned out to be something actually quite powerful for my own sales and my own connection to my offer. So I'm going to debrief the entire process for my members inside the Soulful Sales Society. So today I am chatting with Ekaterina Ward all about seeing selling as an exchange and a connection rather than something difficult and pushy, and how seeing it that way actually helps with the belief that you can sell your way and that you really can be yourself, even if you're not loud, high energy, or high vibe. So let me tell you a little bit more about Ekaterina. She supports mothers in business to raise their energy, income, and feel good without sacrificing their own needs or family values. After running a successful teaching and translation business and transitioning to the corporate sector for 7 years, in 2018, Ekaterina expanded her expertise by becoming a corporate and executive coach, personal performance coach, NLP practitioner, and certified in clean coaching, guiding individuals and teams in business and professional growth. As a mother, she now dedicates her coaching to supporting mothers in achieving business success without regrets or sacrifices. Additionally, Ekaterina contributes her knowledge as a lecturer at the University of Westminster's evening courses. I love what Ekaterina has to say, not just about the possibility of selling as yourself, but also how actually being vulnerable, being honest, being yourself is actually the biggest selling point. Enjoy. So, Ekaterina, we have had the official bio in the intro, but can you just share a little bit about what it is that you do and the journey you have been on to doing this work?
First and foremost, I am a mother. I am happily married. I am also ex-professional. And there was a time actually when people ask me, what is it that you do? I get was like a bit frazzled, like, where do I start? I would say that so after my corporate gig, which by the way lasted 7 years, and it was a really, really professional experience for me, massive expansion, massive learning, part of the most amazing team. I have become a mother, and meanwhile got qualified in various modalities as a personal performance coach, corporate and executive coach, somatic coach. And since I have become a mother, that was 10 years ago now, I have devoted my energy and focus and my real interest in changing the experience of mothers who run businesses behind the scenes, in a way that really giving them an opportunity and supporting them to create the life and business that they're deeply in love with, without regrets and without the sacrifices. So I don't believe in regrets. I don't believe in sacrifices, and I live by it in my every day. So that's in a nutshell. I am also an educator. So my original degree is in linguistics, and I have a teaching qualification. And I am true to that passion of mine. I still teach part-time at the University of Westminster as a part of the evening program. So I've lived in London, and very often the question that I have is, oh, where's that accent coming from? So I'm originally Bulgarian and have moved to London in my 20s and have made this place my home and really created the life that I'm in love with now for almost 30 years.
Beautiful. So let's dive into your soulful selling story. You said that you really wanted to talk about a perspective shift, or a perspective that supports you to show up and sell every day. Can you share a little bit more, specifically around how you see it as an exchange what do you mean by that? And how has that supported you with, I guess, the energy required to show up and share your stuff?
Mm, very layered question. And I'd like to start by saying that I have had my journey with the advice given widely. As a business owner, you have to sell every day. I have understood it conceptually that if I am not in front of people who never heard about me, if I'm not expanding and growing the audience, or if I'm not inviting these people on what it is that I'm inviting to, then they won't be a sale and there won't be a business. However, again, I had my kind of journey and my relationship with it, and the way I have reframed it is this: if selling is an exchange, right? Selling is a transaction. I give the value that I give, and somebody on the other side is voting with their money. They are saying, yes, I want to receive that transaction. So it's all great. And I have to say, I feel good and I feel really deeply connected to my offering. So I do this every day. But some days that's not the case, as we know. And on these days, I'm not taking a day off from that. My reframing has been that, well, today, if I look at selling as a transaction, my transaction will be I will invite people onto my free offering, or to come and join my email list, or to come and join my community. So the transaction would be, I provide this free value to you, and you are giving me your email address, or you are raising your hand. If it's over in Instagram, you've raised your hand saying, yes, I want to be part of that free mastermind you're doing. Yes, I want to be on a free hot seat coaching with you. So just looking at it as an exchange has really, really helped me not to take a day off from it. It actually made it really, really fun and fun and doable for me. I also want to say that I look at selling as more of a practice rather than an act.
Mm.
Here is the deal: whether I am inviting people onto a free offering, or whether I'm inviting people onto a pay value that I know I can deliver them, is, yeah, it's always about that invitation and daily. It's about a muscle that you exercise, and the more that you do it, the more it becomes. And we were having these conversations with you. The more is not a big deal at all, and it becomes kind of a part of your let's say morning practice. I know a mentor of mine, and actually probably you have spoken about this 10 before 10. You wake up and you kind of connect to 10 people, whether you want to invite them onto a free thing or whether you have something really valuable for them to sell. Before 10, you've made these 10 connections. So yeah, a muscle that just needs to be exercised.
I totally agree. And I think where a lot of us can get in the overthinking is when we forget that it is an exchange. Like we think that it's like one-sided, like I'm trying to get something out of people constantly. And it can feel pushy and icky and exhausting, actually. And like it's a lot of pressure, right?
Yes. And it's not fun as well. The fact that you see yourself as somebody who needs to manipulate people into something. It's not the case at all. As me and and you talk very often about this in the membership, is that it's just a story. It's just a story that's not helpful. And which is why we are having this conversation about tiny little tweaks in the way you see things, so that the things you look at change, to use Wayne Dyer. But yes.
Talking about tiny tweaks and looking at things differently, one of the things we were chatting about before we hit record was really the identity you hold and how that informs the way you show up and sell. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
I think it starts with awareness, like everything. It is a cliche, but awareness is a power. And if you catch yourself saying, I hate selling, or I am really crap at selling, then you are laying down the path of the experience you are creating for yourself. And so it will become a self-fulfilling prophecy. We know that. And so here is exactly the conversation we're bringing in. If you change the way you see things, the things you do change. And so my invitation to see this as, what if you just turn up with whatever is being open and honest, with being open and honest about whatever is moving through you today, and communicate that with people. What if you see that as a connection? And this will tie into the conversation that I see you do this really, really well. So that kind of authenticity piece, that it is your personal story. It is the value that only you can bring from this angle that nobody else could bring. That I think if you really sit down and become kind of like protective over it, imagine all of these things are your children. So I work with mothers who run businesses. If all of these things, you look at them with a protectiveness, you look at, let's say, your children, these are yours, your experience is yours, your deep knowledge is yours, your deep expertise is yours. The way you feel today is yours. And what a massive, powerful experience if you share that, because the likelihood is, and I can put money on that, hundreds of other people will feel this way. So that creates an opening rather than, so here is how I would like to say it in a nutshell, rather than saying, I'm crap at selling, you could say, I'm really good at being open and honest, and I'm deeply passionate and deeply believe that I can build this bridge for this specific client from where they are right now to where they really want to go. I can build that bridge and I can lead them confidently. I know that I can.
Oh, I love the way you put that. And this identity piece was so part of my journey. Like I saw myself like I am not the kind of person who can show up and sell effectively. I do not identify with that kind of salesperson over there. And I don't have the right personality or don't have the right whatever it is that day that I'm doubting myself about. And really what shifted for me was when I decided I am the kind of person who shows up and sells. I am the kind of person who can sell often, and I am who I am as well. And I get to sell in that way.
We had this conversation with you, Ruth, because back in, was it 2018 or was it 2020? I don't remember, when I have chosen you to be my mentor, and you taught me so much about the online world. I mean, I didn't have a clue. I knew I was a coach. I knew I was a great coach. I had no idea how to do the whole thing online. And you were the one who built that bridge for me, if you remember. And I can tell you exactly what made me say yes. And what made me say yes was really having that experience of you, and you being so open and honest about exactly whatever was going through to you, you even showing. So I had the opportunity to see you in real life, which I do acknowledge, it's not possible to lots of people. But that for me really gave me a vibe of you are just being really open and honest and authentic person, that you're gonna say it as it is. You're not gonna make it look different. You're not gonna make it look better, because this is exactly where you are. You are owning that. And then I started following your Instagram stories, if you remember, and you were exactly like that, showing like, well, I don't feel like doing this and that, but here I am, and here is what is happening, and here is what I actually do really want to say and communicate today. um so, and this would probably lead in the next part of our conversation, that I want to bust this myth that people who are really good at selling are people who are really high vibe, who are really high energy, who are the extroverts, right? We know them. I am an extrovert, and I have both on numerous occasions, starting with you, from people who are openly and extroverts who are saying, okay, this thing I needed to put myself out there, it was a natural I was doing so and so to find my rhythm with it. Oh, maybe now I've lost my rhythm, I'm coming back again, but being honest and open throughout about it. So yeah, I really, I would love for you to say something about that, because this is the biggest myth. I feel very passionate about selling, that only extroverts sell effectively.
I feel like there's had to be so much unlearning for me about that, especially when I see people who it's not just about introvert and extrovert, it's also about energy and charisma or perceived charisma,
Mm.
what I think of as other people having that I don't, which again is not necessarily the fact anyway, but just really having to catch those stories when they come up. And can I just share a little bit of behind the scenes? Like when we met and then before we started working together, so we met up, we were part of a shared community, Kate Northrop's community, and we had a meetup in London. I didn't go in there thinking I'm going to get a new client or anything like that. I never do. And even if I wanted to, I wouldn't believe it, you know? This is what was going on behind the scenes for me. Like when I don't remember the specifics, but like when you reach out to me and say, like, I want to work together, that for me is, I don't know how to put it, but it was like, oh, okay. So I can be honest and messy and just be myself. I'm not trying to get a client here. I'm trying to make a connection. And you still want to work with me? Like those moments like that have been huge in my own journey to accepting that I get to sell my way. So I like love that you brought that up because from my perspective, moments like that have been sometimes really surprising to me and really amazing evidence of exactly what we've just been talking about.
And may I just extend that in regards to learning stories for your listeners? So, two things I would really like to highlight from that. So, number one was you being exactly who you are. And the interesting bit was that at a time you weren't even saying, I had this feeling about you based on what you weren't saying rather than what you were saying. Because there were a lot of very vocal women there, everyone was speaking, you were adding your bit, but there was this feeling in me, what does she not say? But I feel she has to say. So again, this leads into the fact that it's like a feeling, and it's not the louder one and the high vibe one who gets the client. And the second is the power of following up, because what was really powerful for me, like if we met each other and I never heard of you again, then that wouldn't have result in a transaction, let's call it this way. But then I remember at that time you were on Instagram stories all the time.
Mm.
And so here is the learning. So the power of following up. That was your way back then. Now it might be different, and I'm sure it's different. It might be email, it might be other things. Back in the time, your following up was, or follow up was Instagram. And that gave me this extension, kind of that this really nice, comfortable runway to kind of cement this idea. Yeah, she's the one. She's the one. I'm just gonna approach her.
Thank you for that reflection because we've all been like, networking and all this stuff, and people will follow up very specifically and obviously and say, hey, if you want to work with blah, blah, blah. Like, that's not my style. Like, I don't think I've ever done that in my life. And I love how you framed showing up on Instagram as following up because that to me is like, I'm showing up and I'm here. And if you're interested, like here you go. But I'm not like some of my clients, don't get me wrong, have been amazing at like the DMing and building connections that way. That's not my way. So I love that you highlighted that. Yeah, amazing. So just in the interest of time, like I have to move on to the next question, even though I feel like I could talk about this so much more. So much goodness there about like what we believe about ourselves and who we think we need to be, and really deciding that we get to sell in our unique way. I love that. So just finally, before we wrap up, I would love to know what has been your biggest win, lesson, or mindset shift since being part of the Soulful Sales Society membership?
I think the number one thing is walking your talk. And specifically, the reason I'm in this membership is because of you, because I get a real sense of who you are and your way of doing things and being really open and honest. Well, I was told that this is a better way, but actually, this is my way and this is what's working for me. So that authenticity and openness. And as a result of that, I have to say, so when we started working together, I didn't know anything about the online world. Now my head is like that with the online world. And I still feel that nobody does things the way you do. The way you do things are, and by the way, here I'm talking specifically about you as a leader of this membership, but this is a conversation about, you know, all of us looking into our own you piece, our uniqueness. Who is it that we really are? And just show up in the way, just meet ourselves where we are and just really openly and honestly communicate that and create that opening with the people who really choose us as person who will walk them through that bridge of where they are to where they really want to go. So I would say authenticity and really tuning into, it's almost like sometimes I feel like it's almost putting like your what is it called, what does a horse put, like
Blinkers.
the blinkers, and putting the blinkers and going really deep in and okay, I've heard enough now. These are the practices, these are the tactics. Now, does it feel pleasurable for me? Does it feel enjoyable? This is my day, this is my life. Does it feel easy to do? Does it feel doable? Okay, well, it doesn't. Then what would? It's not by giving up, this is not for me. She can do it easy and magnetically. I cannot. No, the next question is, well, how can I? How can I make it doable and easier for me? Because when it's doable and easier for me and a little bit more fun, you do. You turn up and you do all of these things. So I would say the staying in your lane, and you embody this beautifully, because the things that you do even today, I was like, wow, like I am seeing a lot of things into the online world, and the things that you do are just so unique, so fresh. And I love to be surprised, and I love to be like, oh, I've not seen this anywhere else. Like I have like a huge resistance to things that I've seen hundreds and hundreds of times. I'm saying as a buyer, so I don't respond very well to them. And I'm sure there is a lot of people like me, if it's fresh, if it's unique, if it's yours, I'm like, oh, okay. That is such a lovely opening for connection. And that's such a lovely opening for, oh, wow. Like if this person has this out of the box thinking, then I want a little bit of them, their eyes on my business for that. So.
Thank you for sharing that. And I will say it's kind of like what we were saying about selling every day. Being able to trust yourself and do things differently is a muscle as well. Sometimes it feels easier than others, but it's definitely a huge part of what I really support people with inside the membership as well as practicing it myself.
And you do this so beautifully. I'm almost like excited. Ooh, what would Ruth do next? Like even this conversation was so cool. I was like, okay, like, um, so yes.
Okay, so just before we wrap up, can you let us know where people can go to find out more about you and your work?
Okay, so people can find me on Instagram, where I conduct a series of How She Does It interview series with really successful women and getting behind the scenes of the unfiltered reality of motherhood, business, and life. They can come and follow me there and have these absolute free conversations to watch. I'm also on LinkedIn at Ekaterina Ward. So Ekaterina Ward on Instagram, Ekaterina Ward on LinkedIn. And the main thing, my main invitation, so here is, I'll demonstrate this beautifully. What I really would like to do is invite people to come over to my newsletter, where I share all of these insights and tips and beautiful conversations and offers that I don't share anywhere else. They are specifically for mothers who run businesses and want to run businesses without regrets and without the sacrifice. So be an honor to have anyone interested join me there. And I would like to say that, and you said you will add this to the show notes, where people, I mean, mothers who run businesses come and do very short assessment of how their life and business coexist together. It's a really interesting process to go through and a very short one. And at the end, they can book a free session with me. So, and by doing that, they will be added to my newsletter, but it's an easy unsubscribe if that's not for them. And Ruth, thank you so much. I can talk to you, as I say, forever. You are definitely the one to watch and the one to follow and the one to work with. Huge amount of expertise in the online world and really deep authenticity and just walking your talk. And I think we need to see more people like you in the online space.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate your work as well. I just got to say that as well. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of Soulful Sales. If you have a moment to rate and review, know that it really does make a difference. And if you'd like to carry on the conversation, then you can connect with me on Instagram at Ruth Poundwhite, sign up to my newsletter at ruthpoundwhite.com/newsletter, or my personal favorite, join me inside the low ticket membership at ruthpoundwhite.com/membership. And keep doing what you're doing because your work really does matter.